Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Hi, welcome to the Living in Partnership with Spirit show. This is Ingrid Turner. I am your host, and I am thrilled to be here today. Okay, so during these shows, I will be sharing the spiritual energies forecast for the week, and then we get to dive into the topic for the day, where we will discuss, dissect, and elaborate on divine messages we receive from Spirit. So I have a special show once a month that features a panel of expert guests, and we go really in depth on a particular topic. So this next special is going to be on Tuesday, July 25th, and we're going to be diving into science of spirit with a kick-ass panel of spiritual scientists. I am super excited for this one. Okay, so mark your calendars. We're going to start learning how science and spirit, science and spirituality, science and God come together. We know we hear about these things on the periphery, but I'm really excited to have people coming on who can talk to us about their experience in the science world and then in the spirit world and how those two come together for these individuals, okay? All right, so before we dive in and get started, I always want to make sure and let you know that there's no special reason I receive the messages that I share with you from Divine Spirit, except that I'm open to it, fiercely open to it. And I'm just committed to living this lifestyle and sharing these messages. That doesn't make me any better or worse than anyone else. It just makes me open. So your job is very simple. Take what you hear and hold on to what resonates deeply with you, and then let the rest go. I don't prescribe a dogma for you. I just share what I get, and I share it in the clearest way that I know how. So if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I am happy to do this for you individually and get you Spirit's message that's very profound and very personal to you. So you can book a reading with me on my website at ingridhturner.com, ingridhturner.com. So I offer a whole bunch of different ways for you to access Spirit because I want to fit into as many needs and budgets as I can. So check it out. My services start at $25, and it's ingridhturner.com. So you can also connect with me through my Facebook group. It's called Living in Partnership with Spirit. It's the same name as this show. So just plug that into Facebook search and it'll pop right up for you. There's a whole tribe of us coming together and living in partnership with Spirit. So on that note, what the heck do I mean by living in partnership with Spirit? So for me, living in partnership with Spirit means to commune with the divine and live from that place of feeling and intuition. So living with less anxiety and more certainty. Living in partnership with Spirit, for me, it means living in your highest purpose in this body. Now, living in partnership with Spirit, that's a very subjective term, and I encourage you to come up with your own meaning and definition around living in partnership with Spirit. So what we do on this show is we explore the different themes, topics, and the paths to living and working in partnership with Spirit, how we communicate, how we experience Spirit in our daily lives. Okay, that all being said, let's get into the meat of the stuff. I have the spiritual energies forecast in front of me for the week, and I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. I post the spiritual forecast on Mondays. They go on my website, ingridhturner.com, or in the Facebook group, Living in Partnership with Spirit, and then I put them on my personal page and tweet it out and Instagram and all that. So you can find me on any of those outlets and grab this forecast first thing in the week. But in case you're not following me there, let me just read this to you, all right? Let me click over to it. There we go. So this week begins and ends strong with just a couple of bumps in the road. The overarching theme this week is you choose. Not you always have a choice, but more than that. You choose is what reverberates in my head. We are such powerful beings, masterfully or not, creating our reality, experience by delicious experience. So today in particular, you are called to remember you choose. So that's for Monday. Yesterday, was really about coming to terms with our choice and how powerful our choice is. So the shadow side of choice can be in clinging to a choice you made that no longer applies. It happens We make choices, they feel right, or we think they're right, or someone tells us they are right, and then we discover through our intuitive little bellies that they aren't right at all. Tuesday is a day to evaluate the choices you have made and decide whether those choices are still the right choice for you. It's not about making a wrong choice. We don't really make wrong choices. Good and bad, right and wrong, these are man-made concepts and have no place in the spiritual energies. The question is, do these choices work for you? The difficult part of this will be letting go of what your heart knows you need to release, but the ego may have a different take. When you feel resistance, anxiety, or any upset showing up in the evaluation of your choices, know that this is the ego working to keep you small. Drop that energy down into your heart. Make the next choice from that place, right there. That's where your God self is physically located in your body. Wednesday brings a tremendous availability of personal power. You also have a better sense of sight today. You can see the long view, so take note of it because it goes away on Thursday. Wednesday is a day to flex your muscles and feel your power. You'll feel extra sexy today. You'll lead with more pizzazz, light up the room a little brighter when you enter. Nothing wrong with this. The energies are conducive to this because they are showing you what you already carry with you anyway. But it does mean the pendulum will swing back the other way. Thursday, you'll find your anxieties want to bubble to the surface. Don't ignore these, but don't exactly take them at face value either. Your intuition is heightened today, but because your mind is constantly trying to translate and analyze all of the information it takes in, you're spinning. This is because the mind doesn't have a predefined box for intuitive insight. There's no mental translation for feelings and energy. So what your brain does is put that information in the first box it can find, and it's usually a panicky one. So when you start to feel anxious, you're getting some useful intuitive information. Remember what I said about the heart earlier. Drop that feeling into your heart, and you'll get the message loud and clear. Trust yourself. This wouldn't be happening in the first place if you weren't already such an intuitive beastie. Friday is uncomfortable for the busy bees among us. You want to be working and moving towards your goals and feeling accomplished, and you'll find yourself blocked on this front. There's no getting around it. You really can't make a whole lot of movement forward until more information comes to light for you. So you might as well carve out some peace and quiet and enjoyment for the day. Care of little day-to-day tasks, heavy for another day. I love the weekend, though. You're going to start to see some of your fondest dreams become cemented in reality, and it's going to make you really happy. So enjoy it, because remember, you choose. All right, so there's that for the week. It feels like a really good week to me. A couple of little bumps in the road, but I think we're going to be okay. It doesn't feel like a drastic dip that we are going to be experiencing this week, just a little bit of the ups and downs. Okay? All right, so let's dive into the topic for today. So after this next segment, I will be taking calls. You can call in and ask a question about today's topic. The number to call is 657-383-1895. And then if you'd like to get on the show, go ahead and press 1. So that's 657-383-1895, and then press 1 to get on the show. So what I'm talking about today is the concept of the old soul. So if you're in the spiritual world and getting into self-work and self-analyzing and trying to find your place in the world, in spirit, in creation, you've come across a lot of old soul, new soul talk. And if you're like me, you've looked at those articles that pop up on Facebook or other social media outlets that say, are you an old soul? 10 items that tell you if you're an old soul or not. And you're going through them and going, yes, this all applies. This applies to me. But I'm going to toss that out the window right now. I feel like the term old soul or new soul or young soul, it puts a hierarchy in place that has no place in our spirituality or in our connection with each other or in our connection with Source. So first of all, giving your soul an age is the silliest thing in the world because there's no such thing as linear time. We know that. It's scientifically proven that linear time does not exist. In a spiritual sense, everything happens in the moment. the present moment is the only reality. So creation or God has no age. There's nothing linear about it. Creation simply is in every moment and always has been and always will be. And there we go with the linear time again. It's really hard to get away from that. I get that. But if we are a piece of God experiencing itself in the physical, which is what I think we can all agree on, how is it that our soul could have an age in relation to creation or relation to God? So that's the first thing that comes up is there's no time, so there's no age. And I think it's a more stringent line of spirituality to toss out the whole old soul, new soul. It's impossible for us to categorize somebody as a new soul or an old soul without injecting our very human, ego-driven judgment onto that person's experience. The thing is, we don't come here just to experience one thing and then move on to experience another thing. No. Every experience we have in this body, in this moment, right now, I am talking to you and talking to you about this old soul, and you're hearing what I'm saying, and we are having this experience together in another bubble of time, right next to ours, happening at the same time. The same experiences, we are experiencing this again. We are experiencing it anew, and it's going slightly differently. We're having a slightly different experience of this moment with each other, with you and me. Maybe I'm using a different turn of phrase that is inciting a different internal response in you. Maybe you've had a slightly different morning and you're having a different experience of the words that I'm using. It's countless. It's like it's the multiverse. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And it happens all at the same time. There's nothing linear about our experience. So what's happening is when we see someone doing, quote, new soul, unquote, kind of behaviors, and we compare them to our own, quote, old soul, unquote, behaviors, it's very easy for us to judge that person as being lower than us, as being less than, as being not as evolved, as being not as old. It's pretty funny that in the spiritual world, old is good, young is bad, and in the physical world, it's quite the other way around, right? The judgments that come up, we have to inject this everywhere. But back to the old soul, new soul experiences, we'll just use those terms for simplicity's sake. Every expression is divine. Every expression is God. Remember what I said in the Spiritual Energies Forecast, your God self is physically located in your heart. It is in your physical body. God is wearing a costume, and you are that costume. Your body is that costume. Your ego, your consciousness, your sort of physical stuff. You are simply, the truth of you is God, which is omnipresent and omnipotent. There's no old or new. And God, we as God require, want, crave, need, must, or just for the hell of it, are experiencing every possible iteration of the human experience, which truly, truly means that your experience as a spiritual being, as striving for that expansion, as living and breathing spirit, is no different than the being having quite the opposite experience, the materialistic experience, the drug experience, the addict experience, the evil experience, the thief, the whatever it is. At a soul level, there's no difference in that divine expression. Good and bad, right and wrong, and I said it earlier in the forecast, it's a man-made delineation. And you are here to experience your particular piece of that. And the other person is here to experience their particular piece of that. And so if you can hold on to this, and part of the way that you hold on to this concept of all is divine, and to have compassion, but also deep regard for another human's experience, whatever it is they are experiencing, because that is God experiencing through that human, in that human form. And we start to have that, by getting rid of labels like old soul and new soul, which only inject judgment and hierarchy into our spirituality and into our spiritual interaction with other people. It's one of the clubs that the spiritual community uses to beat each other with. Oh, you're a new soul. You're a young soul. I'm an old soul. Or the other way around, that person is such an old soul. Think about it. Feel about it. Feel it. So what does that feel like? And what does it feel like if we get rid of that delineation entirely and simply observe without judgment as sort of an objective view the divine experience that a person in front of us is having? What happens to our interaction with those people? It becomes one of respect, one of compassion, one of faith, trusting in the process of that person's experience without needing to step in and alter that person's experience or manage that person's experience. You start to come from a really powerful place when you chip away at the hierarchy, at the very upward momentum thinking that we have been brainwashed or conditioned to hang on to. And I get it. It's hard to step out of that. It's hard to step away from the hierarchical thinking. We live in a culture in the Western world that is very patriarchal. It's very masculine driven. And masculine tends to really like that kind of structure, that kind of hierarchy. It makes things easier. It's like an easy path to follow. Start chipping that away, and there's this falling feeling, which is like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I don't have anything to hang on to. I don't have a monkey bar to hang on to. And there's this falling feeling. But ultimately what happens is you begin to be able to expand. Think of it as like a circular boom, expanding out. Instead of building up, you're expanding out on all sides, right? Left, up, down. If we need to visualize it that way, that's okay. Now, we all need a little bit of dogma. We all need a little bit of structure. That energy needs to come into play because we're humans and we need something physical to sink our teeth into because we're physical creatures. We're having the physical experience. We are God having the physical experience, and God likes physical in this physical realm. But we're coming into an age where we're starting to be able to chip away at the places where it limits us, where it limits our thinking, where it keeps us separate, where it separates us. Now, getting rid of the old soul, new soul is another way to increase that connection, that bond between human and human. Now, that doesn't mean that you enable behavior that doesn't work for you. We'll call it bad behavior. You don't allow people to steal from you. You don't allow, lying and negativity and whatever it is, because that is your experience and you get to manage your own experience. But nor do you judge and make bad the person who is having the experience who is doing, quote, wrong, unquote, things. You simply acknowledge that they are having their experience and the people who they interact with are having their experience. And suddenly everybody becomes responsible for their own experience. And we do it without judgment or with less judgment. We're humans. Humans judge. That's what we do. But we do it with more compassion, and we do it with more faith, and we do it with more respect for one another. Okay, so old souls, new souls. And I know that I covered kind of a lot and not necessarily really, really in depth, but what I'm going to do is we don't have any callers today, so that's totally okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show for today. If you're listening to this later on the archive, I would love for you to contact me if you have any questions about this. You can go on my website, ingridhturner.com, and you can hit the contact form. And just go ahead and send me a message if anything is unclear, if you'd like more details. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. It's a pleasure to share with you. I want to thank my producer, Reverend Tiffany White Sagewoman of Goldilocks Productions. So without her, this show would not be possible. Goldilocks Productions hosts a number of spiritual-based shows, and you can find them archived on Spreaker.com/Goldilocks Productions. So give us a follow there, Spreaker, SPREAKER.com/Goldilocks Productions. That's Goldilocks with a Y, GOLDY LOCKS Productions. So Spreaker.com/Goldilocks Productions. So give us a follow, explore all the fantastic content that Tiffany and her production company put out there, and please share whatever feeds you. And again, if you want to get in touch with me directly, you can visit my website. It's ingridhturner.com, INGRIDHTURNER.com. So our next show, once again, is, what is the date? July 18th. So don't miss it. Looking forward to connecting with you then. And thanks again for joining me. You have a wonderful day. I'm so looking forward to seeing you again next week.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.